What's going on, guys? It's your man Ed Hayes here, back for another episode of the Wholesaling Mastermind Podcast, guys. And on this one, man, I've got a special guest. Ray Phoenix has come out to put us on to how to turn our dead wholesale leads into millions. And this guy is actively out here doing it. So he's gonna put us onto some game. Ray, if you could introduce yourself, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So
Go.
my name is Ray. I've been doing wholesaling for about 20 years. I got started. It's a long story, but I was listening to a radio show, and there was a book they had put out there by Robert Allen. He's a really famous, or one of the sort of the godfathers of wholesaling. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like, this can't be real. And it's the same story as probably most people watching the podcast have, where your brain is just cut wide open by the idea that you can make a whole bunch of money on other people's properties without ever actually owning it. Everybody knows those stories. So I got started doing that because of that book, and then eventually got myself my real estate license because I found some real value in that, and then stumbled upon what we're going to be talking about today, how to make millions on these dead wholesale leads. It's pretty incredible.
Okay. Well, man, no, that's a beautiful thing, man. Like you say, like a lot of people are out here probably just getting started, but other people have been out here for a while. But I know that we all have dead leads, so maybe we can kind of just jump right into this thing or whatever. In terms of like these dead leads, how are we turning dead leads into millions? Like I know you kind of briefly gave me a little bit of stuff, but I was like, nah. Save it for the podcast. Let's just have a conversation and we'll
Yeah,
talk
man.
about it so the community can learn as well.
Yeah. So let me just start with this. I don't, a couple of people that I really respect, you and Will and RJ Bates and a few others. I don't usually train people like a lot of you guys do, but I
Mhm.
just want to give one quick plug for something that I do.
Yeah.
As a general rule, like I said, I don't usually train people to do this. I don't have any interest in becoming an RJ Bates. I love what RJ does. I love what the other leaders in the community do. They're fantastic. It's not that I don't have a desire because I think something's wrong with it. I love it. And matter of fact, I benefit from his advice all the time. It's just I don't have the passion for it,
Right.
except in one category. If you are someone who is going through the loss of a child through custody, you're being maybe parentally alienated, and you'll know those terms if you're going through this. That's why I'm wearing the 50-50 shared parenting shirt. In America, we have an epidemic where, generally speaking, it's been the men who usually get completely screwed in the court system. And just by virtue of the fact that you're a male, you don't get your kids, or you get very limited access to them. In the last 5 or 6 years or so, maybe 10 years, it's evened out in the fact that there's a lot of women losing their kids now too. And it's become this race to whoever can convince the judge first that the other parent is a psycho. And what we need in this country is laws that balance those out. So if you are
Mhm.
somebody who is going through that, I don't normally train people, but I will train you. So you
Mhm.
can reach out to me on my website. It's flippingmiracles.com. You can find my contact info right there. I'd be happy to help you. And there's no charge for what I do. Probably ask you for a piece of your first couple of deals, but even that's not required. I will help you so that you can make money, so you can have enough to fight your ex to be able to get your kids. So just a little
Mm.
side note there. Sorry about that, but I just want to plug that real quick.
No, that's a beautiful thing, man. And I really appreciate you being willing to help people in those types of situations. Cause like you said, you're like, I'm not trying to be like a coach or guru or anything like that, but you have that passion. So
Hmm.
man, I guess I'm personally, I'm blessed that I haven't been in that situation to where I'm not, someone that is like in being parentally alienated or anything
Hmm.
like that. Thank God. But I
Yeah.
know that there are a lot of people out there like that. So, guys, if you're listening, make sure that you reach out to Ray, shoot him an email, and like he said that he'll help you. So, hey, man, that's love right there, Ray. For real, I really, really appreciate you bringing that to the community. For real.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about what we came here to talk about, which is, how do we turn these dead wholesale leads? So let's go back to the beginning for just a moment and sort of rewind the clock to where most of us likely started, get our leads from, or at least have gotten to a place where we now get them from, which is we've been taught by the gurus, and correctly so, that more than likely one of the best places you can get leads from, not the only really good place, but one of the best places, is when you buy these leads from lead sources like LeadZolo and MotivatedSellers.com and PropertyLeads.com. And the
Hmm.
majority of people have a problem, and I know I had this problem for a while as well, that they don't properly work their leads. Okay. So what happens is you think you're calling people enough, but when you study under someone like RJ Bates or somebody else, you learn you're not near relentless enough. And that was one of the problems I was having with a lot of my leads. I would buy, $10,000 worth of leads and I'd get like one deal. And I was hearing other people getting, for every $2,000, we were getting two deals, or one deal out of every couple grand. And I discovered that the problem that I was having was I wasn't pushing hard enough, often enough, with enough effort to constantly call them. So before we get to this idea of make money off your dead leads, this really is meant for dead leads. This is meant for leads that you've tried hard enough and you can't make them work. Or alternately, if you're like, I don't want to try that hard, I don't want to call all the time, well, then this would also be for you. But if you're trying to make the most money possible, that is going to come from you working those leads really hard. But if you're saying now there's no money to be made on this pile of leads that I paid for, this is great for that, okay? And there's a couple of different versions of the way that this works, but let's first deal with some of the concepts that people are going to have objections about. Because the way to handle this is to build relationships with real estate agents or become yourself. Now, the great news is there's multiple ways to do this where literally it requires no effort from you other than very minimally setting a few connections for yourself up. And once those connections are set, there's almost nothing for you to do other than to pass the lead to the connection. And that would make you the minimal amount of money, but it has maximum results in terms of leads don't get wasted and you don't have much to do. Other people would say, no. I want to make as much as possible on the leads. So I'm willing to go some extra miles as long as the money is a lot better. So what I did was I created a calculator that I'm going to bring up here in a moment and show you. And the calculator lets you, and we'll put it in the summary at the bottom under the podcast where people can click it. And we'll put it in a numbers format and an Excel format. So you have it both for Mac and PC, so that you can see for yourself and plug the stuff in. So let me first grab the calculator and share this with you. Everything that you see in blue. You got to turn on sharing, bro.
I gotcha. Boom.
Okay. So everything that you see in blue are fields that you would need to fill in, and then the calculator does the rest. So let me walk you through this. So the first thing you have to do is you want to take your average price per lead. Okay, because it needs all this data for it to calculate. Now, the point of this calculator is for you to figure out whether the system I'm about to show you is even worth it for you. Okay, so there isn't an assumption going into this that every single time someone uses this calculator, they're going to get to the other side and go, oh yeah, I should be doing this. Now, I have yet to see a scenario where it didn't work for someone, but I'm sure it's possible. But what we're going to illuminate today is how much money you're leaving on the table that you could literally be doing almost nothing and making money on your dead leads. All right. So let's start here. So price per lead. Let's just fill this in like we normally would. So on an average, the average thing I've seen, leads can be anywhere from $20 if you're buying Coupon Club, or it could be as expensive as $500 if you're buying exclusively elite leads. But let's just take sort of an average in the industry. Most people are paying about $200 to $220 per lead. Now, you'll see over here, these calculations will start popping up. You can ignore them until we have every one of these fields filled in, okay? They don't matter until all these fields are filled in. So the average price per lead for most people is about $220 if you're buying an exclusive lead. And this, by the way, this actually gets even better when you're buying Coupon Club leads, okay? So then there is the number of deals in a 10-pack, right? So this would be, what we're saying is how many of 10 leads do you normally not sign? Now, for most people, that's about 8 out of 10, right? Mm-hmm. Now, ask yourself this question. One of the things that this is designed to do for you is it's designed to help you discover, well, let me back up and say it this way. The way I got to this whole calculation and this whole system of making money off dead leads was because of this problem that I had. The problem was about 8 or 9 out of 10 leads, as we all know, either don't pick up their phone, or if they do, it's a lead that's garbage for one reason or another. Either it's literal garbage that they have no interest in selling, or I didn't submit that form, right, or it's people that are saying, I'm not taking your stupid offer, but I'll list it with you if you want me to sell it so I can get maximum amount of value, to which most people who are wholesalers discard that and say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not an agent. I can't help you. So
Right,
the
right,
first
right.
objection, we're kind of reaching that now. The first objection is now going to become, well, no, wait a second. Are you about to show me something, Ray, where I got to become an agent? And the answer is both yes and no. It depends on what you want to do. There's a way, as I was saying in the opening, where you can make money not being an agent. So you make less money, but do way less work, basically doing nothing but handing it over. Or you could say, no, 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 I want a lot more money, so I'm willing to become an agent. So it's going to be your choice as to which way that you want to go. But either way, you have money sitting on the table, and this calculator is about to show you how much you have sitting on the table that you haven't properly taken advantage of. All right, so in an average pack here, at least for me, what I notice is about 4 out of the 10 leads are people that say to me, I'm not taking your stupid lowball offer, dummy, but I'd list it with you if you want to list it. It's about 4 out of 10 for me. I can't speak for other people. But out of a
Right.
pack of 10 leads, about 4 will tell me no stupid offer, but I will absolutely let you sell my house for me. Okay. So then I'm going to fill in the monthly ad spend that I spend on average. So let's say on average, I'm doing about, let's make this just so that it's really even and easy to calculate, $200 a lead. And let's say I'm spending $10,000 a month on ads. Now, here's what you're going to fill in here, and I'll explain this here in just a moment. Agent commission generally is about 3%, okay?
Mhm.
And let me see. I can't remember if I'm supposed to do the 3. Okay, yeah, so here, I'll just put it as 03, and we'll know in a minute if it's right. And then 0.3 for you. Okay, and then average area. So now this down here is a really critical number for you to know when you're doing this formula. And that is some areas that you're going to be wholesaling in, especially if you're virtual, the average ARV on a property is 90,000. And that's the point
Right.
of this calculator. In some areas, the average ARV is going to be, 250,000. So let's start
Mhm.
with an area where it's like $250,000. All right. This is obviously not correct. Okay. 0.3. Okay. So let's look at the numbers here. And let me just make sure I've got this correct. Times 0.3. Yep. And then this should be 0.03. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to notice. This means if I'm doing about $200 a lead, 4 of my deals could potentially be resurrected. I'm spending about $10,000 a month. The average agent gets about 3% commission. The average wholesaler is going to get 30% of that, and I'll explain those numbers here in just a moment. And the average ARV on the properties that I'm targeting are $250,000. This tells you your ad spend for the year is about $120,000.
Okay.
And the number of 10 packs that you're going to have in a year is 60. Okay, so in other words, there's going to be 60 10 packs in a year. The number of deals that you're going to be able to resurrect is going to be 240 deals over the course of a year. The number of deals in a month is 20 in a month, and the total revenue, the total closed revenue is going to be about $60 million. Here's what this
Mm.
means. What we're saying is, if you look at this number right here, what we're saying is this: the average home is $250,000 in this particular scenario. There's 240 deals that are going to go out of this pack of leads, which again, some of this stuff it kind of builds on itself. So I know it's a little confusing right now, but I promise you it'll all iron out as we go through this.
Okay.
So what that means is about $60 million of real estate is going to be sold from your dead leads, with the understanding right now that those 4 people per 10 pack that told you, I'm not going to sell you my house, but I'll let you list it, that you're not going to be listing because you don't want to be an agent. We're talking about that scenario first.
Right.
That you then hand to an agent, and I'll show you how to find the agent. That you then hand to an agent, and they do all the work. If all of those properties sell in a year, it'll be about $60 million in real estate that sells. Okay, so now I need to give you some understanding of how real estate commissions work and what you can and can't do so you don't get yourself in trouble. I'm not an attorney, and I cannot do not give legal advice. You're going to want to talk to your own attorney about this.
Okay.
But here's the general rule. The average real estate agent makes 3%. Okay. It fluctuates. Some make 1.5, some make 2 points, but generally
Mm.
speaking, it's 3%. Okay. So on an average deal, let's say say worth $100,000 and a realtor sells it, they make $3,000. Okay.
Right.
Now, if a realtor decides, I can't sell your house, Mr. Hey, you've got $100,000 house guy, but my buddy realtor can, the two realtors can make an agreement that, hey, I'll turn over this lead to you if you give me 30% of your 3%.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
That's how most realtors work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get they'll generally say, I'll give you 20, I'll give you 30, whatever. I'll give you the lead, but I want 30% of it.
Right.
So here's how those numbers play out. Let me just put them on the screen for you so you can see them for yourself. Okay. I'll do it as a direct calculation. So let's say a property is worth $100,000. What that means is, did I do that right? What that means is when a realtor sells it, they can make 3%. But now remember, this realtor, so it's $3,000. But now remember, this realtor has decided, much like you're deciding as a wholesaler, I don't have time to manage that process. So I'm going to hand it to another realtor, right? So what they do is they say, I'll let you do this deal, but I want you to give me 30% of your money. That means I get $900 for you doing all the work. So what I'm illustrating for you right now, we're going out of the wholesaling world into the real estate world, real estate agent world for just a moment before we come back to this calculator. Okay. So the average real estate agent will make 30% when they hand the lead to another agent, right? The theory here, in practice, I've done it, that you can do the same thing. You can hand your lead to an agent and get 30% of it. Now, I already know what people are thinking. I can't make a commission. That's illegal, and they're right. So you can't word it as a commission. You have to word it as a flat fee, and it needs to actually be a flat fee. So here's what you would do on an average deal. You would calculate what you would have made as a commission and not ask for a commission and say, for instance, in this case, we can see it would have been $900. And you can say to the realtor, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you this lead for $900 flat. And it needs to stay $900. It can't change on that particular lead once you set that up. Because if you let it fluctuate and it's based on a percentage, then you're in commissions and you might go to jail. Okay.
Right.
It needs to stay flat. That's very important that it stays flat. But it essentially achieves the same goal. Now, where you might lose a little bit is if he sells it suddenly for way more and you're not getting the upside of the bigger piece of it, you're still only getting 900. But still, that's $900 from a lead. You did nothing.
Right.
So let me illustrate the process for you, and I'll come back to the spreadsheet here in just a moment. So here's how this would work. What you would do is you talking to Mr. Seller on the phone. Mr. Seller says, I am not going to take your stupid offer, but will you list it for me? The answer to that from now on needs to be, I have a partner who's an agent, and yes, we will list it for you. No problem whatsoever. Now, check with your local attorneys to make sure that the wording you're using is okay for for the law and that you're not saying anything that's illegal. But that's generally the phrase that you're going to use, right? You don't want to tell them, I know someone, I can get someone, I'm connected. It's got to be, they got to feel like, because they're building their relationship with you, they feel like you're the one that's listing it. Now, you're not going to lie to them and tell them that you're listing it. You're going to say, I'm going to talk to my partner who is an agent, right?
Right. Gotcha.
You have to have built a relationship with somebody so that you can do this. And I'm going to cover that here in just a moment. But let's skip how to build that in just a moment so we can go through the whole process quickly so people can see a broad overview. So what will happen is you'll say, yes, my partner, we can list that for you, no problem. Now, you've already built the relationship with an agent. You call the agent, you say, hey, I got this property. It's worth $100,000 ARV. And so I'm going to want $900 as a referral fee. You've already built the relationship. They understand how it works. They say, sure, I'll take it on. You get Mr. Seller connected right to that agent. You and the agent have a separate agreement written that says that you get a flat fee of $900. You then literally, watch this, hand them the lead and go back to the beach. Okay?
Okay.
Their job to take it from there. And remember, they're highly motivated because, number one, real estate agents are desperate for quick and easy leads. As a general rule, they're always trying to figure out how to get listings. And when you find the right agent, they're going to be very grateful that you're just funneling them a series of leads, right? So they take it from there. They take it to closing. They worry about all the costs. They worry about the home inspection. They worry about getting it on the MLS. They worry about whether or not all the stuff in the house is fixed to a degree that it can sell, blah, 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 blah. I mean, as much as I told you before that if it sells for more, you're not going to see the upside, The alternate's also true. If it sells for less, you don't get a downside. You're still getting $900.
Right. That's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty
Okay.
good deal. No,
You
that's fine.
literally do nothing.
Well, I'm curious though, like in that scenario, are you getting paid on the HUD or are you like the
Yeah, it's at
separate agreement?
closing,
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine.
just
No,
like a
that's
wholesale deal. You
interesting to
get
do
paid
it.
at closing.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So I got another question then. So like
Yeah.
in your experience so far, like have you like presented this opportunity to agents and gotten pushback from them? Or like I would assume that they would like most of them would probably be like, hell yeah, I'll take this like
So
this
that
lead
leads
for a
us into
flat
how
fee.
to
But I'm
find an agent, how
curious.
to talk to an agent.
Okay,
Okay. That's a
okay,
great question. All right.
yeah,
So let me first very much recognize and acknowledge the fact, and I hate to say this because I'm an agent as well, but the majority of agents are a bunch of pretentious douches. I hate to say it, but it's just
yeah.
they do a real estate school and they think they're experts, okay?
Right.
And but here it's mostly not their fault though, because they are taught, and I've been to real estate school, so I know more than once, and I'm a broker, by the way.
Mm,
Right now I'm as an associate broker with EXP Realty, so I'm
nice,
not hanging my broker's license right now, but I have passed the broker exam and I'm a broker and blah 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 blah.
nice.
But with that being said, I know these people inside now because I spent years in this industry and et cetera, et cetera. And what happens
Mhm.
is brokers, as a general rule, and agents who come up and become brokers are under the false notion, and I'm sure most wholesalers and other real estate professionals who are watching this that are on the investment side know this, believe that we're all a bunch of scammers, that everything that we do is just illegal and you can't make money on real estate unless you're an agent, and it's all a bunch of
Mhm.
lies, and it's ridiculous, right? But they've all been to be indoctrinated with that belief. So yes, when you start calling agents, you're going to find some pushback on two levels. So I want to make sure that you
Okay.
understand how to overcome both pieces of it. The first
Okay.
level is what we just talked about, and that is the idea that these people are just going to be like, that can't be legal, right? And so the
Right.
answer to that one is boop, on to the next one, right? You got to you try to spend your time. Here's what's going to happen. If you have an agent that you feel you might be having a connection with and like, let me talk to my broker and make sure that what we're talking about is okay. You can let that roll if you want and see what happens, but almost every time the broker is completely unfamiliar and they're like, hey, it's not worth risking your license working with some random guy from Idaho to make a deal,
Mhm.
because if he's making money on it, it means, or she's making money on it, it means that they're breaking the law, right? So most
Right.
times you just want to just keep moving through the agents at that point.
Okay.
The second objection usually is going to be that they don't understand the way that these types of things work. And so it's similar to the first one where they end up feeling like this just can't be a way that it can happen. It's not legal, blah, 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 blah. But essentially what you're
Right.
becoming with these agents is a marketing firm for them, which
Right.
this is a part of the second problem. The second problem is real estate agents are solicited all day, much like what we do to homeowners, these marketing companies do to real estate agents. Text
Mm.
after text after text. I can bring you deals. I can do marketing
Oh
for you. Blah, blah.
yeah.
So understand that when you begin to approach these agents and you approach them like, hey, don't worry, it's a marketing thing I can do for you. Click, they're probably going to hang up because they get those calls all day. So the
Right,
way to
right.
approach the agent is say, hey, I'm a real estate investor. I have people that I advertise to. They want to sell their house, the majority of which are not going to take my offer, but they want an agent. Do you want me to funnel these leads to you? I can discuss with you the arrangement that I'm looking for. And if you don't want them, that's fine. But these, I'm going to find an agent somewhere. It's that simple. If you word it that way, that will give you the highest likelihood of success finding an agent you can partner with. And the great
Mm.
news is, and some people probably now are thinking, oh, wait a second, I do real estate all over the country in my wholesaling business. All you got to do is develop the relationship once with one in each place that you wholesale. Yeah, it's going to take you a little time to
Hmm.
do that. But now, when I come back to the spreadsheet, you'll see why it's worth it in just a moment. Okay. But yes, it is going to take a little effort, especially if you have a large wholesaling operation, to set up the infrastructure in terms of you're going to have to make calls. And if you have
Hmm.
people on your staff like, what do you call it, VAs, or potentially even, because this could be some money you could funnel a little bit of piece of this to your acquisitions team. You could have your
Right.
acquisitions people make these calls for you, right? So
Hmm.
you can get them to set up these relationships. So let me tell you where to find, at least in my opinion, the simplest place to find. And I'm not getting any kickbacks for this. Feel free to not go to this website. I don't care. But if you go to exprealty.com, matter of fact, let me just show you real quick. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. and I'll share my screen with you.
Okay.
Sorry, why is that not coming up? Okay, here it comes. Pull this to the front. I got my, I can just put the thing over here because we're not sharing the whole screen. All right, so let me pull up the web browser here, and then I'll share it with you in 2 seconds here. And I'll
Okay.
show you the simplest way to find a massive quantity of agents to make it very easy for you to instantly get yourself these connections that you're going to. You go to exprealty.com. And
Okay.
again, I'm not pushing EXP. Go to Keller Williams. I don't care what you do, but this company is on the forefront and they are massive, okay? And they have agents in pretty much every city, every town, every county, every friggin' everything, right? So you go up here on the top right, you click this little menu and you go find an agent. And you literally can type any location in the United States. So let's try, give me a location anywhere. Something you think
Las
is obscure.
Vegas.
No, that's an easy one. Give me something you think might be a little. You got any locations where you felt might be
Okay,
obscure?
give me Placerville, California.
Placerville, California. I never heard of that either. Look at that, 57 right there.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's fire. Yeah, that's a lot for like a area like Placerville. It's kind of rural.
Okay. So all you got to do now, this is where you got to do a little bit of legwork. Okay. You got to
Okay.
build the relationship with the agent. And so you're going to have to call a few of these 10, 15, 20s and explain it the way that I told you. Hey, I'm a real estate investor. I'm investing in your area in properties, and 4 or 5 of every 10 leads that we get say, I'm not interested in selling my property that cheap, but I would let you list it. And so I'm looking for an agent to partner with. If you want some leads, I'm happy to work something out with you and we can discuss my terms if you'd like. If you
Mm.
word it that
No,
way,
that's
it sounds
fire.
very legit to them. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it is legit. Okay.
Right, right, right. Yeah, make sure
Now,
y'all write that down if y'all listening, man.
yeah,
Y'all
and they can
listening to
rewind
this
it.
like, yeah, hit that back button one time. Y'all need to write that down and use it on
Mhm.
those phone calls for real. That's a good one.
It's good stuff. All right. Now we reach the place in the discussion where people are likely sitting here thinking, this is way too much effort. So let's talk about why the effort's worth it. Okay.
Okay.
So let me take you back now to the spreadsheet and show you how this works. Okay. So now that we've discussed a lot of the other stuff, we can go over here and look at these 2 columns. Let me tell you how these columns work. This column is if you want to do nothing and just hand 100% of them to a real estate agent. This column is if you want to become the agent. And what this means, and this is the great thing about this. So let's just stick with this column first. Before you cover your ad spend for the year is going to be $120,000 based on what's here, right?
Okay, right.
So you've got a $120,000 nut to crack. If you hand over your leads and 4 out of 10 perform and become deals, okay? You're looking at $540,000 out of your dead leads for you having done nothing
Hmm.
other than build the relationships with the agents and create those. Other than that, you got to do that. But once you
Right.
create and this is only one market, right? And these are dead leads you were doing nothing with anyway. So how
Right,
do I
right.
get to this? Oh, and by the way, if you want to go ahead and make your ad spend deduct or deduct your ad spend from this, what it means is you had an after ad spend of $420,000.
Okay, gotcha. I see.
That means the dead leads paid for your ad spend and they got you another $420,000. And it means any leads that actually went good for you that didn't have to get into this category where you actually did acquire them as a wholesaler cost you nothing.
Right, right. It's
Takes
basically like
everything
free ad spend at that point.
to zero. And what did you have to do to earn this? Pick up the phone, establish a relationship with an agent. And once it's established, there's nothing else to do. You just send them leads. Boom, boom, boom. Hey,
Mm.
Bob and Sue on Main Street want to sell their house. Here's their number. Sammy and Tommy want to sell their house. Here's their number. Blah, blah, blah wants to sell their house. Here's their number. And the agent then makes the call, makes the connection. Now, it probably would be better
Mhm.
if while you're on the phone with the person the first time, you call the agent in 3-way and introduce everybody. That's going to be the solid
Mm.
way to make sure, because many times they may not, as you've discovered, and we all have, they don't pick up on the second call. So if you
Right.
establish the agent into the call immediately, that's great. But let's say only 2 of them become. What happens then? Look at that. You still made $270,000 from doing nothing. If you remove your ad spend from it, you still made $150,000 in extra money from doing nothing.
No, that's actually pretty fire. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
Especially for people that, even if you have a much smaller budget or whatever,
Yep.
that's
Let's
still
do a
like a
smaller
lot
budget.
of
Ready?
money.
Let's do a smaller budget. Let's say someone's spending 5,000 a month, only getting 2 leads. You got $135,000 that you wouldn't have had before, and you got $75,000 in your pocket from two. Let's do 1 lead. Look at this. Okay. Now people look
Like
at this and go,
a
wait a
yearly
second, I only
wage.
clear 7,500. No, wait a second. You only clear 7,500 because this system paid for your marketing for you.
Right, right. So it's not even including all of the other deals. You know what I'm
So,
saying? So yeah, only
so
one
here's
of
the
them
good
have to
news.
go into that category. You probably closed a bunch more if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's say what you're thinking is, but I really haven't gotten any deals and I don't think I'm going to get any in the next 12 months. Well, at least you're not negative anymore.
Right, right, right. Paying for your ass bit. No, that's actually pretty fire. I'm not gonna lie. And all of us have dead leads. Like every single year,
Mm-hmm.
I go through literally thousands of leads. And like
Mm-hmm.
the majority of them end up dead. And the
Yep.
majority of the people that did respond and say, yeah, I do want an offer, they want something closer to maximum price.
Yep.
So it's like, why not just connect them? Like sometimes we're in these major markets where ARVs could be in the millions or the hundreds of thousands. And
Yep.
if we're passing those off for 30% of what the agent is netting, come on now, like those go crazy.
Yep.
You know, I could definitely see the value for sure. Like, and we're just assuming that the average is just 250. What if you were in San Bernardino or you know what I'm saying, or in Riverside,
Look,
California, Los Angeles, wherever, you know?
yeah. So, and that's the great thing about this calculator. Give me an average cost for a San Bernardino house. Do you know 750,000, a
Um,
million? What is it?
I would probably say around half a mil,
Okay.
just as for a safe number. Yeah,
And boom, the calculator calculates it for you right here. That's
that's
what you make.
crazy.
So
That's
if we,
good money. I'm not gonna
right?
lie. Like, for real.
And that's on your dead leads.
Like exactly. Yeah, no, that's actually pretty crazy because most people aren't even doing that off their actual leads.
Yep.
So just imagine like this could be a whole business. Like people can literally just run this as the
Right.
business. Like and
Yep.
just you don't even have to do the wholesale deals. You can pass the wholesale deals to wholesalers.
Yep.
And just and do the same thing with them probably. I
Yep.
just thought about that. Like,
Exactly.
I didn't even think about
Ex-
that, but that's like a whole other thing that you can do. You can literally turn this into a whole business and potentially be netting $1 million a year. Like
Yep.
just literally off of just dishing the leads off to other people
That's
that
it,
have
man.
an agreement to pay you on the back end once they actually close the deals.
You could
That's actually
literally
pretty crazy.
solicit none of these leads other than the initial call and hand that over.
Yeah,
Does that
no,
make
that's
sense?
actually pretty crazy. Yeah, no, you're right.
You could literally do none of the actual wholesaling and just do this and make money.
Yeah, like literally, like just that. Just have
Yep.
the initial call and pass it on. I would assume that maybe there are companies out here that just do that, but it just seems like a concept that no one's talking about, especially when it comes to selling leads. Not even selling, we're not selling leads.
Yep.
Like you're actually like technically you kind of are, but it's like it's such in a different way. Like I guess it's like the frame. It just it changes the whole paradigm of how I've thought about selling leads before. I literally used to sell leads. I had a lead selling company, motivatedsellerleads.org.
There you
But I
go.
wasn't doing this. You know what I mean? Like, God dang it. I should have thought about that. Should have sold these leads to agents with an agreement that they have to pay me X% once they close the deal. That just makes so much logical sense, to be honest. This is actually amazing. It's
That's
actually a
inc-
really, really amazing idea. Seriously. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
That's good. Like, what made you think about this, Ray? I'm so curious. Like, where did this idea even spark from or whatever? I'm not sure if you mentioned it already, but it just seems
What
like such an
happened?
amazing
Yeah.
concept.
So it's a great question. And I want to be clear about something because I know a lot of people are probably feeling this way because I want to, I'll tell you exactly what sparked it. And then we need to talk about that last column because that last column is what sparked it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So what sparked it was it's literally like right on in the what I do, which was I'm making these calls to people. I'm not taking your stupid offer, but I'd list it with you. I'm not taking your stupid offer, but I'd list it with you. Blah 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 over and over. And I'm looking at this like I've never wanted to be the paperwork, the grind, the government overreach and oversight and regulation. I don't want to be an agent. I want nothing to do with being an agent. And look, here I am now. I'm a friggin' broker, right? Because what happened was, and I was married at the time, and I thought, you know what? I don't want to be an agent. But my wife, who was my wife at the time, she was interested in being an agent. I said, well, look, let's sit down and run some numbers. And this is the numbers that we ran. I didn't have this calculator at the time. I just did a real basic calculator. I said, let's say every single person this year that we talked to over the last 12 months, I think we had about 6 months of data, and so we extrapolated it to 12. I said, over the last 6 months, how many people did we talk to? Because I'm like a metrics guy. Like I keep everything. I got a custom CRM that I designed from the ground up, and all my
Nice.
metrics. I know everything, right, for my
Okay.
business. And so we went through and we ran the numbers, and we said, okay, let's look at the best possible scenario. If every single person that said, I'm not taking your offer, but I'll list it with you, actually listed, and if 100% of those closed, how much money would we have made last year on our, what essentially, where we didn't call them at this at the time, but our dead leads?
Right, right.
It was $1 million.
Oh
And then I
wow.
thought to myself, what if we're wrong by half? It's still a $500,000. What if we're wrong by 3/4? It's still $250,000.
Right, right. It's like just free money, basically.
So I put her in real estate school. I said, go get your license. So she got her license
That's
and we
too funny.
began doing this, and it worked freaking brilliantly. Then ended up with a divorce. And I was like, well, I can either lose
Okay.
that revenue stream or I can become an agent. Here's what pushed me
Gotcha.
over the edge. So now the last column, and we'll come back to that in just a moment,
Okay.
is the most complicated, because to do it and to make the massive amount of money in that column, which I'll show you the money again here in just a moment. Everybody probably already saw it, but I want to highlight it.
Okay.
You have to become an agent. So this is why I did
Mhm.
the 2 columns. For those that say, not a chance in Hades am I going to be a real estate agent, then column number 1 is for you. But for
Right.
those who either thought I was interested in that anyway, or maybe thought no way, but when they see the numbers are maybe changing their mind like I did, that second column is for you. So
Okay. Okay.
there is a way to get very close to making column 2 perform like column 1, where you don't have anything to do.
Okay.
Okay. It requires more infrastructure setup. It requires some time and some experimentation, but it's
Okay.
been done 100 times before by every agent on the planet. So it's just going to take some time for you to build the relationships. First of all, one piece of it you already have in your stable, or if you don't, then the people that whoever you're listening to as a mentor, I'm sure are well aware of it. It's called transaction coordinators. And there are some
Mhm.
transaction coordinators that are nationwide. I have found I don't like the nationwide solution for what I'm doing. I like to
Mm.
find a local coordinator that really is passionate and knows what they're doing. That takes a little bit longer, but the
Okay.
agents that you will find on the EXP site and other websites have the connections to the best local transaction coordinators. Okay. So you want to
Okay.
start calling some agents, just say, hey, listen, I'm looking, you'll be surprised how much agents will help you, because even though agents, and I do want to give compliments and other, though agents are really douchey in the area of the law and they really are a bunch of know-it-alls that know nothing, on the flip side, the overwhelming majority of agents, even the ones that get the law incorrect, are really the nicest, most compassionate, and dedicated people to the craft and to their clients. Okay, so I want to give them credit in that area. They're really, really good people. They just are know-it-alls when it comes to the law. So if
Right.
you're calling, just generally speaking, any average real estate agent, hey, listen, you don't know me from a hole in the wall. Just want to see if you know of a good transaction coordinator. You'll be shocked at how much they will help you. Okay,
Mm.
they're good people as a general rule. So you can find it.
Uh-huh.
So you need to find yourself a good transaction coordinator in the areas where you're at.
Okay.
Transaction coordinator is half the battle. You also want to get a VA, because these people, when you are somebody's agent, you have some things you have to worry about. You have an enormous amount of paperwork that you have to get right, or you can get in real trouble. The
Right.
transaction coordinator makes sure all that stuff happens. And think about it.
Gotcha.
The other thing I know people are thinking is, but then I've got to get on the MLS and I have to put the properties in that these people want to sell. No, transaction coordinator. But what about
Mm.
getting the lock on the door and blah 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 blah? Services do that for the every single thing that an agent needs to do. There's a service that will do it for you. Now it's going to cost
Right.
you in the closing, but what do you care? And I'll show you why you don't care in a moment with the numbers. The other objection is, but does that mean that I have to pay to be part of a local real estate board? And yes, you're talking about
Mhm.
between $1,200 and $1,800 for the year to make an enormous amount of money. Are you kidding me? That's not worth that investment, which again, I'll show you the numbers here in just a moment. So I get these hurdles and I get these objections. I had the same objections, which is why we have column 1 if you don't want to do that. But the
Right.
way you make column 2 like column 1 is you build these relationships with these people to do it all for you. So here's how it would work. Somebody calls, I want to list my property with you. Great. You build the relationship. You send them the form to list the property. You then have people that work on the ground for you that you can hire through some of these. What's the big one that RJ's always, I can't remember. It's like it's an everything all in one. Boots on the ground. I think that's what it's called. Bootsontheground.com or something like that.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard
Okay.
of that one.
But they got everything. They got everything you can need. The people will
Mm.
go take pictures, put locks on the door. It's the whole kit and caboodle.
Oh,
Let me
wow.
see. Hold on. Let me just,
I've
because I
never
don't.
heard of it.
Oh, no. InvestorBoots.com.
Investorboots.com. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a gem right there. Never heard of it. Actually, I probably need to write that down somewhere to be
Yeah.
100% honest with you. I
So let me,
I need to
yeah,
check
let
that
me
out.
show that one just so you guys can see it. Close that up.
Hmm. So I'm assuming
So,
even an agent could probably use people like that, is what you're saying.
oh,
Like they
yeah.
could use
And,
investor
and
boots.
wholesalers can use this website. You guys need this website. Okay.
Yeah, I never even knew that this existed. So I
Look, place an
appreciate you telling
order.
me.
Oh, absolutely. Services. Here we go. Look at this. People will take photos. They'll do locksmith. They'll do lawn service, lock boxes, MLS photos,
Notarizations. Oh,
notarizations.
damn.
Okay.
Damn, doing
Letter posting,
showings.
showings, wellness check, land view photos, bandit
Bandit
sign
sign placement
placement,
is crazy. That's
premium
actually
photo
crazy.
add-ons, 2D floor plans, courier services, document recording services.
Whoa.
This
Wow.
website,
Wow.
and listen, it's instant. Once you create an account, you literally just go, okay, so you log in. And once you're in, you just click a little button that says order a service. You click the service you want. Within a few minutes, you get a phone call from them or an email that says this person's been assigned and they're going to take care of that for you. And then that person calls you directly.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
That's
it's
nice. That's what I'm
insane.
talking about.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I like that. No, that's super fire. So it sounds like even if you're an agent, you're a wholesaler, whatever, if you want to get the biggest bucks, you basically
Mhm.
just need to automate it, is what you're saying. Just
This is
you
how you
don't be the
automate.
person doing everything. You outsource everything to
Yep.
everybody else. Maybe you got to make a phone call. Maybe you got
Yep.
it's like little things, but it's not like super hands-on. I gotta go to
Exactly.
showings. I gotta fill out all of the MLS paperwork and stuff.
Nope.
That stuff is so tedious. Like when you're doing
Yep.
novations, you got to put all of that information. That sucks so bad. I couldn't imagine having to actually do that. I will
Yep.
gladly take 30% if
E-
they're willing to to do all
Exactly.
this
Right.
paperwork. Just let me out,
Exactly.
leave me
But
out
no,
of
no,
it.
but if you do it this way, you're not taking 30%. You're taking
Oh,
100% minus
right,
just
because of
their
the actual
costs.
agent in that situation. Right. So it may cost some money up front, but someone else will actually still do that work for me. I could either just pay like the transaction coordination company,
Yep.
something like that. And so what transaction do you have like a specific transaction coordination company that's doing like the MLS listings? I've never heard of a transaction coordination company that will do your listing stuff for you. I didn't even know
Right,
that that
because
existed.
most of the wholesalers are only familiar with transactions. Just take a wholesale deal from start to finish, right?
Right.
But a
Yeah.
true transaction coordinator, they do two sides, okay? They do the side where they take it from once you've picked it up to get, I'm sorry, once you've got it under contract to closing, that's part B. And most
Right.
wholesalers think that's just the part because they're not that's the thing, right? That's the only thing, just to get it from
Mm,
contract to closing. For an average transaction coordinator, that's actually part B. So I'll give you an example. So
gotcha.
with a good transaction coordinator, you've got somebody that matter of fact, let me walk you through when I'm literally right now I'm about to make $10,000 on something that was a dead lead.
Mm,
So I got a call. I got a lead from one of the major lead sources, and I called the person, and the offer was way too low, of course. And she says, and matter of this point, I just volunteered. I say, hey, I can give three offers now. Offer number one is I'll buy your house for this much cash. Offer number two is let me give me a seller financing. And offer number three
mhm.
is if they're absolutely adamant, I don't tell them about offer three right away. I wait to make sure the other two won't work. And then when it's very obvious that they're just not going to be doing a deal with me and we're going to be getting off the phone, I said, well, I got one other option for you. Really? What? So I'll list your house for you. I'll get you exactly what you're asking. I'll get you I get it. The offer I'm giving you is going to work. I want to give you 100. You want to get 220. I'll get you the 220. You want 220? Let me get it for you.
Gotcha.
And that makes them
Gotcha.
go, okay, well, how you do that? Let me be your agent, right? And so there's some other objections you got to deal with. We can talk about that on another podcast if you want. I can explain how to
Right.
get through some of that.
Yeah,
But
no,
what
that's fine.
it's real simple. And then once she said yes to that, I then call my transaction coordinator
Okay.
who picks up that mountain of paperwork that the state requires,
Mm.
right? And she fills it all in
Oh, wow.
Sends it to them to sign, and now I have a listing. She also preps the listing agreement for me. She preps all the
Mm,
paperwork. There's things that have to happen. The state
damn.
requires a fraud notice. The state requires a disclosures. The state all these. The state requires. The state requires it. She does it all. And anytime the state
Mm,
changes the requirements, she's on top of it. And she does it all. So that's actually part A, right? That most wholesalers don't know because they're not listing properties. So
right.
is from listing, I'm sorry, from getting the listing to getting it on the MLS. And then there's
Right.
that period of where you wait for a deal to get a
Right.
contract, right? Then you get the contract, and then they do part B, which for most wholesalers is just the only part, which is from
Right.
contract to close. So the transaction coordinators do the whole thing for you. And if you
Interesting.
find the right one and you interview them the right way, you'll find someone that's really good with customer service. You have to get through 4 or 5 of them to find the right one. But once you do, they're like making calls to the client and they're asking, is everything okay? But that's
Right.
where I bring in the VA from the Philippines. Now, I want to give you just a very quick tip on how to hire from the Philippines. I'll tell you how I do this.
Okay, okay. Before you say that, okay, I
Yeah.
gotta ask you this. So it sounds like the transaction coordination people, like they pretty much need to be really, really knowledgeable
Yeah.
about that particular market, and like kind of being in the trenches, like in that particular market. So, like, where would you suggest that the audience members would go if they were trying to get a really good transaction coordinator?
Yeah. So I'd actually mentioned that, but it's not easy to remember. I know a lot of times. Use the EXP website, find local
Oh,
realtors,
okay,
remember?
okay.
Yeah.
And then you
And
said like, and they will
hey, if you got a
connect
good
you.
transaction coordinator, and just start
Gotcha.
get about 5 or 6
Okay.
names and start calling them.
Right. Okay. And I know
Right.
like a lot of wholesalers, yeah, like you said, like I never even thought about that. Like having somebody that would be able to do like the transaction coordination stuff
Mm-hmm.
on the front end. I didn't even know
Mm-hmm.
that that existed, to be honest,
Yep.
because even though I was an agent previously, I never listed any deals though. I never listed any properties on the MLS. I just got my
Right.
license because I was living in Illinois and they made the law and I was like, oh, I'm nervous. So I went and got the
Right.
license. But still though, if I would have known that, I probably
Mm-hmm.
would have been listed. I dreaded the thought of having to do all of that paperwork. So
Oh my
I
gosh.
think that's like a
I'm with you, man.
golden gem, honestly. Like that's a golden gem to me. I didn't even know, especially, and it just ties along with this idea that you're talking about, like becoming the agent,
Mm-hmm.
like so well because it's almost like that first category, like you said, where it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
very hands off, but you're still getting all of these. You're getting way more money. It looks
Yep.
like or whatever. So anyway, okay. I got you. I got you. So you were about to go into VAs in the Philippines.
Yeah, so let me tell you how to hire online to begin with. So there's 2 tips I want to give everybody. Number one is this. When you're hiring anywhere, whether it's on Zoom, not Zoom, sorry, whether it's what are some of the major sites? I use
Indeed.
onlinejobs.ph. Do you know about
Okay.
that one?
Yeah. They actually just
Onlinejobs.ph.
emailed me recently, like trying to work with me and stuff. It's actually
Yep,
kind of
they're
crazy.
great, man. I love them. There's onlinejobs.ph. Of course, there's upwork.com, there's freelancer. Whatever the site you're using, no matter what you're hiring for, one of the tips I'll give you to avoid, because there's always bazillion pages of spam you get when you're
Mhm.
hiring someone. One of the simplest ways to eliminate spam is make your ad kind of long, and right in the middle somewhere, in the middle of a paragraph, I write a sentence where I say, for you to be considered, you must start your response with Macs are Unix based. It's a Unix techie thing, right? But I find a
Okay.
random paragraph and a random place where it doesn't belong. And then I know when I go to look at them, if the first sentence starts with Macs are Unix based, they read my ad.
That's interesting.
And
Okay.
anybody that hasn't gotten that in there, because and I put at the beginning, I said, fair warning, I will know if you read my whole ad or not. And if you haven't, you will be ignored.
No, I like that. That's actually a good
Okay,
one. That's
that's
a
how you
good
get
one.
through spam very quick. But here's the bigger tip.
Okay.
So when I'm dealing with people in the Philippines, of course, the major concern is going to be how thick is the accent, right? And so the way I do it is I tell them you must include a voice recording. So you must do Macs or Unix based, so I get rid of the spammers, and then you must give me I tell them send me only 3 paragraphs. Do not send me the copy and paste you send everybody else, and make it specific as to why you think this job is right for you. Give me 3 paragraphs specifically. So if I open something up and it's 10 paragraphs, I know they don't follow, I close it. Because I need someone that can
Boom.
follow instructions, right? Especially when you're hiring assistants. It's really important. Like you can maybe
Hmm.
for possibly sometimes I'll make an exception for an acquisitions person where I'm like, okay, he didn't follow the instructions exactly, but he's got a lot of talent or she's really, really going to be really good at this. But even then,
Right.
I'm very skeptical because you don't want someone that can't follow instructions.
A
But
hundred
with the
percent.
VAs that are going to be assisting, then they need to be able to follow instructions, you are out. If you have more than 3 paragraphs or less than 3, you are out. If it didn't say Max or Unix base, you're gone. Okay.
Mhm.
Then what I do is I tell them, you must include a voice recording. Let me hear what you blah blah blah, and talk for at least 8 sentences. This way, I
Okay.
don't have to do 400 calls with them to figure out what does your accent sound like. What does your accent sound like? What is your right?
Right.
And then I get rid of anybody that doesn't have the code at the top. I get rid of anybody that's got more or less than 3 paragraphs. I get rid of anybody that doesn't have a voice recording attached. Boom.
Right.
It eliminates 90% of the spam.
100%.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then what's left, I just listen to each of the recordings and I pick the one that sounds the most like there's the least amount of accent in it. And so that's how I handle hiring those people from the Philippines. And they're all great. I
Hmm.
love working with people from the Philippines. They're fantastic. So
Very interesting.
let me just very quickly, because I know this is going long, just quickly show you that last part, the final column.
Okay.
We keep promising it and then I'll get to it. So on an average cost of 200 per lead, with an idea that you're probably got about 4 that won't buy but will list, with a monthly ad spend of about $5,000, and an understanding that the average agent makes about 3% commission, and the wholesaler gets 30%. You see it's 0.03 and 0.3. And now let's do the average ARV. Let's bring that back to something a little more in the normal range for an
Mhm.
average place. If you're a wholesaler and you don't want to do any work, you'll make about $270,000 on your dead leads, with $210,000 after your ad spend. Okay. Look at this. If you decide to become an agent before your ad spend, you made $900,000 that year for being an agent.
That's insane.
Now, I think there's got to be a complication here. That can't be right. It's got to
Oh, right.
be
It probably should be like 780.
right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'll fix that calculation. That's obviously incorrect.
No, that's
So,
still
but
great
still,
money,
dude,
though.
yeah, this should be 9 8. No, it should be about 840, right?
840,
Yeah,
60,000. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah. You're right. I
Okay.
thought it was
You
120. Yeah.
still made over $800,000 after your ad spend. And
That's
remember,
insane.
other people are doing 90% of the work for you, even in column 2, if you set it all up correct. So like I said before, I totally get that to get into column 2, there's a lot more you have to do. But if you set it all up to be like what you said, Ed, where it's automated, you're pulling in
Mhm.
an additional 830 or so $1,000 per year, doing nothing more than handing the leads to people around you. Now, here's the great news. When you get into that category and you're making a couple $100,000 and you're an agent and you're working at that point, you got to be hired with a broker, right? You can
Mhm.
make partnerships with other agents. Sorry,
Mm.
other agents with the broker that you work for, that
Okay.
you can then do different types of splits with them. You say, hey, listen, I need someone to handle my leads for me that you don't have to do a lot because I got all these systems set up. So I don't want to split this with you
Right.
50-50. And I don't want to, be the one who loses a bunch, because I want to make the majority of this, but I'll give you 20% of my deals if you'll just handle some basic day-to-day stuff here and there and
Mm.
just make. But if you don't want to, you can hire someone in the Philippines with that system that I gave you to have them make those calls, because it is true that when you're dealing with these people, they need constant hand holding. And that's one
Yeah.
of the fears that people have. I don't want to end up in that boat. You don't have to. If the numbers look like they're attractive enough to you, hire other people to hold their hand. You've
Right.
gotten really
Right.
creative in real estate and other areas where you're like, I'll find a solution for that. Why would you look at this problem and go, well, then never mind?
Right, right. No, you're 100% right. No, that's definitely really, really feasible, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm probably about to go back through my CRM and be like, look, we need to
Find them.
start calling all of these leads. Anybody that
Exactly.
wants to list, bro, I'll probably be able to get like 20, 30 people ready to go in a day, like easy,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody wants full price. Right. So, you get everybody to be like, yeah, what's your offer? Da, 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 or, make me da, da, da. There'd just be so many people. But like, once you make that offer, they want way more than that more often than not. I would say the majority of the people that we talk to want way more than what we're offering, depending on where you're getting that lead from.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, like, guys, if y'all listening and y'all are basically wasting your dead leads, this is literally $1 million play, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. You'll probably make more off of this stuff than what you're actually doing. Like, some
Right.
people will actually make more money. Most wholesalers, the vast majority of wholesalers, are doing like 4 deals or less per year. I've polled the community
Mm-hmm.
for years on my YouTube channel, asking them how many deals did you close this year and stuff like that, like at the end of the year. And the
Mhm.
vast majority of wholesalers, I would say, I want to say, I can't remember what the exact number is, but I want to say it was like 80% of
Mhm.
wholesalers close 4 or less deals per year. So just think about that. If you just take the basic numbers or whatever, the average person, if they're closing 10,000, that like per deal or whatever, let's call it even, right? Like that's like
Mhm.
40,000 that they may
Mhm.
close. That's like the majority of people are maybe make 40,000 this year. So guys, if y'all are maybe you're making 40, 50 a year and you're comfortable with that, maybe you got other stuff going on too or whatever, but you got all of these dead leads. Like you're
Mhm.
missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like this could be
Yep.
the actual business.
Yep.
So I'm letting you know right now, Ray. I'm letting you know right now. I'm definitely on this. I'm about to be in there. I'm gonna be one of the competitors sending more deals to agents.
Do it, man.
There's no real competition if you think about it because agents can just list unlimited deals.
Yep.
I'm gonna do it in that sense or whatever. I'm probably not gonna do the become an agent thing right away, but
Right.
I've got a crazy amount of
There you
leads
go.
that we've accrued over the
Hand
past
them
few,
to an
like
agent,
thousands
baby.
of leads, like crazy amounts of leads. So yeah, I mean like 100, like thousands of people actually that have said yes, but they just wanted higher offers than what we can give them.
Yeah.
Thousands of people, like there's like multiple millions of dollars is what I'm thinking. Like it could be
It's
an eight
crazy,
figure
man.
year just off of selling my dead leads to agents.
While
That's
you're at the
actually kind of
beach.
crazy. Right at the beach, hanging out somewhere.
One
Just
word
no
of caution,
effort
just as a
involved.
reminder, if you don't go the agent route and you're going to be giving the leads to an agent, use the words flat fee and don't change your number once you give them the number. That's very important so you
Right,
don't get yourself in
right,
trouble.
right.
So,
I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I would probably be perfectly fine. I would be the discount buddy. Like, look, I just toss me 1,000 on every one of these. I got 10 right now. You ready? You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? Or something. I'll just be the discount bargain guy. Whatever. They'll love to get deals from me. Whatever. Like, absolutely. But you don't have to be though. Like the 30% sounds way better, and then you could just do the math yourself in advance. Make
Yep.
way more money. They will gladly take it as well. If it maybe
Mhm.
even just discount a little bit. Okay, I could have made 3,000. Look, just give me 2,500. Like you know what I mean? Something like that.
Right.
Whatever, instead of the whole 3,000. Maybe the property sells for a little bit less or whatever. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, no, I
I
love
do, man. I do.
it. Oh, I love it, man. Ray, I appreciate you so much, man, coming on here. This has been a great session. I really, really appreciate all the value. Like, if someone wanted to get in contact with you, like, are you gonna like have some information that you want to like leave them below, or is there anything else that you wanted to be able to like any other things that you wanted to tell people or whatever before we get up out of here?
Yeah, you can find me at flippingmiracles.com. My phone number is there. My the email, everything. There's ways to reach me there. Flippingmiracles.com, and I'll be happy to help. And most especially, as I said at the opening, if you're going through some sort of a custody battle of any kind, whether you're married and getting a divorce, or maybe you were never married, which was my situation, most especially if you got someone lying. And in my particular situation, not to be too transparent, but she lied and had me arrested for domestic violence that I didn't
Oh
commit,
no.
which is what's a very common thing in custody court now, where it's almost never done against women. It's almost always against men. So I'm not
Mm.
besmirching all women here, so it shouldn't be mistaken that way. But the women who do this are just dirtbags. Again, not all women, just this
I
group.
agree.
Thankfully, in my case, and this is not the way with most men, I was able to raise enough money because of wholesaling to
Mm.
fight her. It took 5 years and 50 grand to get my kid.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nothing though, dude. There are men out there right now as we speak, hundreds of thousands of them, if not millions, right now as we speak, who are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and haven't seen their kids in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years.
That's really sad. Seriously.
So, and like I said, it's starting to happen to women too now. So whether you're a woman or a man, I'm here to help you if you got an issue with custody. And I'm not an attorney and I cannot and do not give legal advice or financial advice, but I can give you my personal experience. And I've been specifically helping people with custody issues. So if you want just some general advice about that specifically, and you just need someone to talk to, give me a call. The number's on the website at flippingmiracles.com. But specifically, if you want to learn how to wholesale and you're not very good at it, and you have this custody thing going on, I will help you. I normally don't train people, but I'll
Mm.
train you if you got that going on.
Wow. Look at that, man. Ray, you're a blessing, brother. I really, really mean that, man. For real. You came through, dropped some gems on the community, and you're also willing to get out here and get into the trenches with people that have other stuff going on as well, these custody battles. Man, look, I think this is going to be a transformational one right here. I'm not going to lie, man.
I
I'm
would say,
really, really, really looking forward to getting this one out to the community. I genuinely believe, like, I genuinely mean that for real. Like, this is like one of the most exciting, like, podcasts that I've ever done. I genuinely mean that
oh,
for
that's
real.
awesome, man.
In terms of like the value exchanged as well, like this is like this is probably the most valuable podcast. It's
Yeah,
like because
no,
anybody could do this
that's
because
awesome.
everyone has dead leads. But
Yeah.
no, you don't really hear people talking about it. Usually when you do, it's like it feels like it's a scam or some weird stuff or something like that or whatever. I be
Hmm.
seeing some little things or whatever, but I never know what to think about it or whatever. But no, this is super, super valuable, Ray. I really, really appreciate you for coming on. I really, really mean that.
And it's a pleasure to be here. Anytime you want me on, just let me know. I'll come back, man. Love being
Hey,
here.
say less, say less. I'm gonna get you back in here before you
All
know
right,
it.
man.
All right, Ray. You have a blessed one, brother. And guys, if y'all are checking this out, man, make sure that y'all hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Definitely go check out Ray. And until next time, guys, we are out. Bang. Just like that.